On today's Tech Time Tuesday, we're going to take a look at the new S2RV chassis at the Tampa SuperShow.
Tech Time Tuesday.
We're here today on a windy and slightly brisk Florida January day, so apologize if the audio is a little choppy. We're going to start from the front of the coach and make our way back and talk about the steering and suspension components and what's unique about this chassis compared to others such as the M2 and different areas for improvement. So first, obviously this is a Super C, so you've got the engine up in the front. It's got the nice proven durable B6.7. Now on the M2, for comparison, you can either have the B6.7 or the 9-liter Cummins. The S2 does just come with the smaller 6.7-liter Cummins, still a very good engine. So up front, we've got a leaf spring, solid front axle, a adjustable steering gear, which is nice. The steering gears on these are generally pretty good in terms of play. We're not typically seeing issues there. Again, that leaf spring suspension uses a 2-leaf pack. The M2, there's a few different variations on that one, anywhere from a 1.5 leaf setup on the lighter M2s where it uses a slipper in the back, all the way up to a 3-leaf pack on the really heavy M2s, where the S2 is all the same, just that 2-leaf pack. We've got our factory Sachs shocks here, which are, not terrible, but we've done a lot of work with Koni recently to develop the brand new Evos front and back, and those really make a world of difference on these. So the 9905-1037 Koni Evo in the front, the 9905-1038 in the rear. Up front, you'll also notice we do not have a factory front anti-sway bar. So that is something that is somewhat different than on the M2. On the lighter versions of the M2, those use a front sway bar from the factory, no rear factory sway bar. The S2RV is kind of the opposite. There's no sway bar in the front from the factory, but it does have a factory rear bar. So if you have an S2RV, you're looking for more sway control up front, you can add a Roadmaster aftermarket sway bar to get more control. You can also couple that with a front track bar. Now, what does a track bar do? It controls lateral motion in that front axle. This being a leaf spring axle with relatively long springs, you've got some flex in the shackle in the back, some give in the bushings. So that track bar just helps to control that side-to-side movement while allowing the axle to move up and down freely, really improving your steering response. Finally, out front, I'll mention you can also add a Safety Plus steering control. That's really nice for front tire blowout protection, as well as some better return to center. It really improves your steering feel. And just recently we came out with the trim unit for the S2RV. That allows you to adjust your center point of your steering on the fly. So that does it for the front. We'll make our way toward the back. I will pause right here though. Take a look. You'll notice under the steps, no fuel tank. That is something that is unique compared to the M2. So on the S2RV, your fuel tank is located in the back. On the M2, it's located in the front under the step. So something to keep in mind for fueling. Also for weight distribution, that M2 can often have a little more favorable weight ratio. Generally, we like to have as close to a 50% ratio of front axle weight to rear axle weight as possible. Now in a Class C, we're typically not getting anywhere near that, but the M2 generally will have a better weight ratio front to rear than the S2, given that the S2 not only has its fuel tank in the back, but it's actually behind the rear axle. You can see it back here. So when you fill up that tank, that's actually going to tend to create some lift off the front axle, so bring some weight up, because you can visualize it sort of pivoting on the rear axle here in terms of how that weight is sitting. Looking at the rear, we do have air suspension in the back. This is Freightliner's airliner suspension. Very good, very durable system. So you've got your 2 airbags in the back. As I mentioned earlier, you do have a rear anti-sway bar from the factory. So that's an 1.75" rear sway bar. These are pretty good for sway control. I would say probably a bit better than the M2 right out of the gate from the factory, but you can make it even better in the back as well by replacing that with a Roadmaster 2-inch rear sway bar. So that will give you 60% more sway control in the back, going from 1.75" to 2-inch. And then looking at your shocks, so again, there's factory Sachs shocks in the back, you can see where you have kind of this somewhat unusual offset top mount that Rich is showing there. And that's why on some of the earlier applications of Koni's, where we were basically taking a Koni and applying it to this, you had to stack up some spacers. We now, with the new 9905-1038 rear Koni Evo, you got all of that integrated in one piece, so you don't have to worry about spacers on those. Those rear 9905-1038s are quite a bit stronger than those factory rear shocks and really do a lot to control sway in the back. And those shocks also work on the back of the M2. Now, also looking at the back here, with our airbags, this is where our motion control units would install. So this is a 3/8 outer diameter airline. The motion control units, they slow down the flow of air in and out of the airbags as a really simple, effective solution for further reducing that low speed sway that you can sometimes feel, such as pulling in and out of a driveway at an angle. Now, a 3/8 diameter airline, your part number on these is going to be the SSE 5065 motion control unit. And you would want to install them within about 6 inches of the airbag. Now, I do want to point something out on these newer S2RV chassis. They do come from the factory with a dump valve. So when you hit your leveler, it actually releases the air. That's what this line is. So it's bleeding the air off from the airbags as your leveler is coming down. That is a unique feature. I believe in the last year or two, they introduced that. That is something to consider when you're looking at installing motion control units, is that the motion control units will slow down that flow of air out of the airbag. So it may add a little bit of extra time to your leveling process, where you may have to retract all to get the air forced all the way out of the bags and then hit level again. Not too much extra time, but just something to be aware of. But that dump valve from the factory is a really nice feature, where before you had to actually put the levelers down, and that would basically pick the rear end of the coach up pretty high in order to level it. So this just really simplifies that process. And that just about does it for the S2RV chassis when it comes to steering and suspension components. Overall, a very strong, very sturdy chassis, good powertrain, good foundation for starting, but we can really help it out ride and handle quite a bit better from factory. So if you're interested in that or any other Super C suspension solutions, please contact us at supersteerparts.com, 888-898-3281. Thank you very much. Until next time, I want to wish you safer and happier driving.
Tech Time Tuesday.